I'm Jonathan Bennett.
Hi, I'm Zoe Bell.
Hey, I'm Jack Coleman from Heroes.
Hey there, and welcome to the premiere episode of Filmnut.
Is it all right if I pee my pants? I'm so excited to be here.
There's a lot of things we want to accomplish with this show.
Do you have a little hint of something? Are you like trying to leak some information here?
I talk to people. Directing is like playing basketball with 5 guys you love,
right,
and you can't wait to win the game.
Right.
And writing is like digging ditches all alone, right? 24 hours a day.
Of course we want to be entertaining. Weber, Kate has a very soothing voice.
Ooh, really?
That's more of a sex operator voice.
Exactly.
But another thing we want to do is educate.
Carry on. Hi out there, land and Filmnut land. You're getting some real information right now. Archive it, look at it, tell your friends again to look at it. This is real information. But back to, this is the Jeff Schubert Show.
Filmnut.
You've done amazing research. I'm so impressed.
Oh, and number 5 was beautiful, but it's out of my head. Oh my God, what was it? You'll have to come to my classes to find out number 5. I don't know.
Take good
so
notes.
Good. That was it.
Oh, get out of here.
Dude, that was so good.
Of course we want to have on writers, directors, producers, and that sort of thing. Just the importance of a director to be open and flexible, right? I mean, if you were closed-minded at that particular juncture, you would have missed something.
It's impossible. You were, the writer gives you the material. You're going to interpret it one way, and then the actor is going to interpret it another way, and then the editor is going to interpret it again.
It is the definition next to, director, creating a safe environment.
We also want to introduce you to cinematographers, gaffers, makeup artists, wardrobe.
The box, by the way, was shot on the Panavision Genesis system. I think it is an amazing system. I think it's really the only system that can mirror film.
When there's makeup to be tested for the director and for myself and for the actor, it's nice to get a double. That's burn makeup from Terminator 3.
Okay. Anything that has anything to do with all the aspects of making a good quality film.
This is Robbie Consing, the storyboard artist on Transformers.
I'm Marina Catala, an editor on The Biggest Loser.
I'm Gary Goldman, associate producer, assistant director of HBO's Entourage. To be a great first AD, you have to know the script as well as or better than anyone else.
We want to be inspirational. It goes right along with being educational.
We're at that point where everyone can make a movie. Right. It used to be you had to be rich to make a film.
Creating something and being part of a family and a team that moves people for generations and generations.
Never forget who you are.
I trusted you, Jeff, and you didn't let me down.
We're excited that you guys all tuned in.
You are out there. You are.
I want to talk about spread. I want to talk about paparazzi. I could stay here for another couple hours.
Get those in before you get to
Okay.
Hey, I'm Joshua Gomez from Chuck.
I'm Seymour Cassell.
Hi, I'm Cristine Rose from Heroes.
This is Jeff Schubert, the host of Filmnut, and the Stream.tv is on fire!
Hooah!
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Filmnut. I am your host, Jeff Schubert. Very glad you can join us tonight. Tonight, we take a look back at 100 episodes of Filmnut, the show where we like to talk about the making, marketing, and distribution of film and television and even new media. We really like to get into the mechanics of the behind-the-scenes process of it with Below the Line, in addition to talking to the above-the-line actors, writers, directors, and getting into what they do. With me tonight, as my guest, is founder of the Stream.tv and executive producer of this show, Filmnut. The show is his brainchild. I know it means a lot to him, so I'm glad he's going to be here with me tonight to share in these moments and give him some of your favorite picks as well as mine. So, stepping out of his fortress of solitude and joining me on the set is Mr. Brian Gramo.
Hello, Jeff, and hello, interwebs. What's going on? Very excited to be on the Filmnut set 2.0 or 3.0, however you want to explain it. It's nice. It's cool. It finally looks like the way I wanted it to look. We didn't have the ability to do this in the old studio, so I am jazzed to be on here. But this is not my first time on Filmnut.
No, that is not. There's a lost episode of the 100.
And everyone says I did it on purpose. I did not lose it. Somehow the digital file became the William Paul Clark episode, and we still have not had time to digitize it. I promise I will put that online eventually, because Jeff actually did one of his standard amazing interviews. He did a lot of research on me, and it was good. Any interview by Jeff Schubert is amazing and well researched, and pretty much every guest says that. They can't help but go like, "Oh my God, how did you know that?" And so that is just a testament to your preparation. So
well, thanks. And I want to bring up since you brought up the 2.0 version of it, in that little highlight reel that we showed you from the very first, it included the very first episode, Welcome to the Premiere episode. What do you think of that set compared to now?
Well, for those of you that might not know, as you were going through the best of the Filmnut over the course of 100 episodes, we started in Studio 2.0, and we had basically one set for every show, and we had no idea what we were really doing. And so we just sat people down, put them in this one generic set, and kept going from there. And you can see as the episodes go, we were evolving on what kind of cameras that we had and the backgrounds that we had. And inevitably, now we have enough space to kind of produce this look for Filmnut. And this is just shot in the same small space that all the other shows are shot. And we are really taking an extra effort to make all the shows look as different as possible.
Well, and you spoke about me for a second. Let me say about you, not just for Filmnut, but for all the shows. I don't know if there's a human being out there who could make more with what he has like you do, whether it be when you originally started the Stream.TV out of your bedroom to the, to the second space, the small space, to now. What you make do with and what you maximize is a testament to just great work on your part, and for independent filmmakers, that's what you need to do to make your films.
Oh, I'm glad you tied that into filmmaking. Yeah, I mean, I worked on films first before I started on the Stream.TV, and there was a lot of times where you would get in a situation where you needed to get something done, but you didn't have everything you needed in an ideal world to get it done. And it's about improvisation with equipment and with people to make the project still look cool and still be entertaining and engaging without a huge budget. And I think that hopefully that's something that Filmnut celebrates as we go through things.
Well, we're going to get to some of mine and yours. I don't know if I want to call them favorites, but just we picked some clips from some specific episodes that we like that we're going to show. But before we do that, one thing that we're going to be doing that is different tonight on Filmnut is we're going to have an instant message girl. Most shows have that on a regular basis. We generally do not. Generally, I read the instant messages. So with us here to do that tonight is a film school graduate from Brooks Institute. She is the creator of Chloe's Corner. And in fact, here she is, Chloe Bierce.
Hey guys, I feel really happy and really special to be a part of this episode, so thank you a lot for having me.
Yay, Chloe. Now I'll step in and remind people that this is not an interview with me and Jeff, it's about Filmnut. So if you have questions for me or Jeff, we can do that another time. We're looking for questions specifically for Filmnut during this.
Filmnut and about how we do what we do, right?
Mm-hmm. How we do what we do.
Okay, so the first clip we're going to get to, I've had two guests that have been on here twice, and the first one we're going to get to is James Gunn. He was on twice. The first time we talked about Slither, the movie that he was the writer-director for. We talked about Scooby-Doo, which he was a writer for, Dawn of the Dead. We got into a lot of his work. He's got a trauma background, so he's got a lot of Lloyd Kaufman in him, so that threw me off a little bit. Had a lot of fun with him and his fans. So let's take a look at just a couple of minutes of that episode. Is there a danger in that for writers watching, and as a writer, trying to make so many different entities happy?
Well, I learned a big thing on Scooby-Doo, on the first film, because I was getting very fed up with dealing with this giant studio hierarchy and that very thing, making the director happy, the producers happy, the actors happy, the studio happy, and everybody had a say, and it became crushing.
How do you write
for
like
me?
Yeah.
And so after a while, I just said, I don't give a shit. I just want to finish this thing. We had to rewrite the whole ending halfway through shooting, and so I just wrote pages quickly, didn't really put much effort into them, and just said, I'm just going to make them happy. I don't care. Right. It's going to be, whatever. And for me, that was a failure. That was a personal failure, because the truth is that on a movie like that, you do actually have to work with all those people, and you really do have to make all of those people happy. Mm-hmm. But one of those people is yourself, right. And one of those people was me. And because I kind of let go of my own feelings, it ended up being something I was less than happy with. Mm-hmm. And since that time, I've been a little bit stronger in my opinions, I think, mm-hmm. And a little bit, but also trying to find compromises with everybody so that I can be happy and those other people can be happy. And that's what being a big studio screenwriter, that's the job of a studio screenwriter.
Great.
It's a lot different than what people think it is.
Do you have a favorite set term speak?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Because I don't always say action.
It was a lot of fun talking.
I thought we have sex at the end of it.
Yeah, Lloyd told me about that.
Go ahead.
Well,
action.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
That was fun. That was, if you want to go ahead and see more of that episode, that was 201, the first episode.
And he came back later. He came back later to promote PG porn, but this was specifically, I think we just got him to get him.
We got him to get him. He was he worked with, we got him through Peter Basler, who was an associate producer on the show. Peter, if you're out there, a very big part of, early part of Filmnut getting going and getting off the ground. We love you, Peter Paul Basler. Thank you for your contribution to 100 episodes. And Peter was friends with Stephen Blackheart, who was another past guest, and Stephen Blackheart's like good buddies with James Gunn, and that's how we got to James, and that was a power-packed hour. I mean, we talked about his movie, The Specials, we talked about Dawn of the Dead, we talked about writing, we talked about directing, we talked about how he got his start when he lived in New York working for Troma, and how cheap Lloyd was, and how much he paid him. And as you can tell by that go-ahead ending, we had quite a few laughs, and James is not one to censor himself. And
yeah, it was fun, and the biggest problem I had about preparing for this particular episode was I'm watching, you watch a little bit to see what clip do I want to pick, and then you end up watching the whole episode. I mean, they really are good, and it's hard to find a bad one, particularly if you're into that position. So look at the position. If you're not into being a script supervisor, you might not find that episode as your favorite, but there's very few duds in the Filmnut collection, particularly if you like that clip. Now, James coming by was kind of part of us, sometimes we just want to get a really interesting, popular person to let more people know about it, to increase traffic, and to put a very interesting person in front of you. And one of the other aspects of Filmnut is getting someone that is very technically knowledgeable about a particular position. And of course, I'm a director of photography. I was very happy to have Stephen Poster in as a director of photography. And again, the whole episode is amazing. He goes off on rants, and it's really fun. This particular clip, it's just a little sample of him kind of showing you a filmmaking trick to someone about making films on a low budget. So you can go check this one out.
The way you do it today in an inexpensive environment, take bigger light bulbs and put them in the sockets. Get fluorescents. And white balance to them, so that you know that your color is going to come out true. You can mix colors much easier today than you used to be able to. For instance, daylight and tungsten, daylight and fluorescence. The cameras are much more accepting of that than in the old days. So, yeah, you can light things inexpensively. A simple piece of white cardboard reflecting light into a face is very effective. Look, see that white paper that you've got on there? Take the white paper and just hold it up. Here, I'll show you, like this. Okay. Now, what are you seeing? You seeing any difference between my face now and then? Okay? Look at it again. You see the light hitting me? Okay.
Yeah.
You can put light, you take it off screen, and you let the light hit the surface of the white cardboard and let it bounce into your face. So, you can do things for almost nothing these days.
Wonderful.
That's episode 225 with Stephen Poster, and that's a really great tip. I mean, one of the hugest things when you make any sort of production is light, and you need to be able to see what you're doing and have a great sense of controlling that light. So that was a great episode. If you're into filmmaking at all, go check it out. I mean, he was involved in Blade Runner. He was the DP for Donnie Darko.
Well, actually, and The Box is coming out in just a couple of weeks with Cameron Diaz, and he's the DP for that.
And we were watching a crazy B or C, D, F, G, J movie on Doc Mock's Movie Mausoleum last episode, which is another show on this network where we make fun of old movies, and Stephen Poster was the DP for that. So that was really cool to see that. It's a great episode, 225. Check it out.
Great guy, and Stephen's also, I don't think he is currently, but at the time of that interview, he was the president of I.A.T.S.E, Local 600, the Cinematographers Guild. And just to add a comment before we went into that clip, you were talking about all the different crew positions. Well, if you're watching this in the archives, stream.tv/Filmnut, and you can see the little descriptions. We've had head of the transportation department, a big transportation coordinator on the show. We have had a script supervisor on, storyboard artists. We haven't covered every crew position yet, but we are well on our way to. And it's very exciting. So let's get to our first instant message of the evening. I'm totally not in control of this tonight. It's a very different feeling. Chloe, what do you got for me?
All right, we have a question here from Blue Rivers, and it looks like Film Fan has pretty much the exact same question, which is what is involved with contacting all these guests? Like, what are the steps that you go through in order to get these guests on the show?
Good question, Blue. There is a website called the Internet Movie Database, which is a free website.
IMDb.
You can go there and you could check out any actor, any crew. If you like a movie or a TV show, you can punch that in and it'll tell you everyone who has worked on it. There is a pay service on IMDb called IMDb Pro, which you pay a little bit of money for, and it gives you the information to who represents a particular artist or even a film project. So generally, if someone has a publicist, you contact their publicist. If they don't have a publicist and they have a manager, you contact their manager. If they don't have a manager and they have an agent, you contact their agent. And that's pretty much the deal. It's cold calling them. Now, people who've worked on the show Filmnut, Brian, myself, Peter Paul Bachelor, who I just mentioned, we know people in the business, so we've gotten people that way, but
it hasn't all been cold. I mean, we do work in Los Angeles. I was in the film production business for a while, and people involved with Filmnut are in the film production business. And you make contact. You have to with any field of work. I don't care whether you make pots or pans or whatever you make. You're going to make connections as you go through. And we really try to maintain those relationships so we can have people come in and talk to you guys and educate you on certain things. And I think we've done a pretty good job of keeping people happy and getting them in here. And again, we do have to thank Peter Paul Bachelor for that. And he got us Cristine Rose. He got us Gregory Itzin, James Gunn.
Sure.
So knowing people doesn't hurt.
Right, and now, and more recently, which has been great, is we're getting people coming to us saying, hey, I know about your show, I saw so-and-so on it.
That's awesome.
Would like to get my clients on. So that's starting to happen too, which is nice. Any more questions, or should I go to my next clip, Chloe?
I have one more question,
Go for it.
and it's from Blue Rivers as well.
Hi, Blue.
Jeff, actually, it's for both of you. This is a question for both of you. What guest has been on the show where that made you go, whoa, I can't believe he or she is going to be on Filmnut?
I can answer that for Brian.
For both of you.
All right, what's my favorite?
Brian's is definitely Cristine Rose.
It is Cristine Rose, and yours is Renee O'Connor.
Very good, correct. One quick funny story about Brian and Cristine Rose. Hadn't been doing Filmnut that long yet, right? So me and Brian, we didn't know each other. I auditioned for this out of Craigslist to be a part of the Stream.TV. And at the beginning, Brian, he's a serious dude. He's running this network. He's doing a lot of things. He's not unfriendly or friendly. He's just a working guy, right? So I would come in and we had our different visions of the show, if you will, and creatively until it kind of met a nice happy middle. But I was always used to seeing him be very serious. And after Cristine Rose left, and I walked Cristine Rose out, and I walked back into the office, he's jumping up and down like a little schoolgirl. It was like I was so happy that I made him happy, because I'm a people pleaser by nature. You know what I'm saying? So when I came back in and I saw how happy you were, that like really meant a lot to me.
Oh, cool. I was literally elated. I'm a huge Heroes fan, and not only that, I was excited that she was going to be present. And I guess you have a certain level of expectation, and I hope we transfer that excitement to you guys when there's someone here. I think that energy translates through the live stream and the chat room, because I know people are excited to hear their name said when we're live. But the fact that she was so she was just amazing. She had a great presence. She was really humble, really fun. That even made more of an impression. If she came in and she was fabulous, I would have been excited too. But she was just so cool. And I know I rarely heard you say you've been nervous before someone coming in, and you were literally nervous before Renee O'Connor came in.
It was
while she was there.
And it's a great transition, great question, Blue, because that's going to be where my next clip is from. But yeah, I was a big fan of the show. It was a very surreal experience to me. Her fans from the show that she was on, one of the shows, many projects, but Xena Warrior Princess, she played Gabrielle on it. Her fans were just so intense and so loyal, and they like welcomed me into their community prior to that particular episode. So I knew it was going to be the most watched episode of Filmnut, my first interview with her, which it still has been to this day. And just the whole thing of meeting her, I was like almost in a separate space. It's a good thing I'm a person with mantras, because I had to say them before the show to get myself grounded and be in the appropriate space. Now this clip we're going to show you now is of actually my second interview with her, which by this time I felt like I'm old friends with her, because she's so nice, so professional, so
I think there was
cool.
a little handsies in that episode. There was some handsies.
In the extra section,
some
yes.
knee touching.
Yes, she's very sweet, very nice person, incredibly professional. It's a pleasure to have her on. Hope to have her on again in the future. And here is the clip that I chose to show you for my second interview with her. And that's how you talked about your acting, how it's from the heart, and your character Gabrielle was all about the heart.
Very much.
And now here you are so drawn to a piece because of the heart of it.
But people who are so free in their love or completely trapped and not feeling any love. I want to look at these different character pieces and, again, put it out there so that other people can get something from it and, you know, find more about themselves.
And I love how you say, and just put it out there, because I felt like with all these things that Words Unspoken makes you think about, you kind of put it out there without judgment. You know, it's about starting a debate, getting people to think and feel and explore their feelings and their thoughts on these issues.
Yeah, well, I can't remember where I got this, but it was a quote about leaving it open for interpretation. And I love that type of filmmaking because everybody brings what they want to a story, whether you're receiving it or telling it. And if you keep it open, then anybody can feel anything and they can hear what they want to hear. So that's exactly what I want to do with this.
I think it's great, and I think that people are ready for it, because so much of what we get today is almost kind of pushed down our throat with a judgment, with an agenda, with an opinion, that certain people close off to it before they even walk in the door because of that, whereas the way your approach is very inviting.
Well, I was hoping so, but it's funny because I'm, you know, I don't have too much experience in all of this, really. And this is only my third time directing, but I always knew that's what I wanted to do. And there were a couple times that I wondered if I was right, you know? I'm Renee O'Connor. I love French toast in the morning, and you're watching the Stream.tv.
And that would be from my second interview with her, episode number 313. And what she was doing there at the end, the first time she was on, her fans stayed on and they wouldn't let her go. We do these post-show shout-outs where the guest says, my name is Renee O'Connor, I'm from this or that, and they go into their thing. And I had so much fun with it the first time that when she came back the second time, I made up all these little things for her to say, and she was gracious enough to sit and do that, and she had so much fun and she was enjoying it so much. Really a big heart. And that short film that we were talking about in that clip, Words Unspoken, has since gone on and is doing very well at film festivals, so congratulations to you on that for Renee.
So that was episode 313. That was the third season, 13th. I want to back up to second season, episode 13. Happens to be 13 as well. Another position we might commonly have in here is director, and we had Tim Russ in. And for those of you not familiar with him, Tim Russ not only in a bunch of different projects, including Samantha Who, but also was Tuvok on Star Trek Voyager, and I believe he appeared in one of the Star Trek movies, I think First Contact maybe, as like a different version of him or his dad or something. And he has gone from just being an actor onto directing, which is, I think we've had a few of them like that, which is a really interesting mix, because someone that's an actor that becomes a director, I feel really has a great relationship with, you know, giving direction to actors. And also, speaking of directing, this is now the second episode of Filmnut, which I haven't directed. So those of you watching at home, Jared is brand new here at Stream.tv. Jared, how's it going up there? I'm surprising him.
Dude,
surprising him.
Why are you trying to mess me up? Exactly. Like I had everything ready to go into your clip, and you like just threw it right at me.
We'll talk about surprises in just a little bit. Jared Greenhouse, everyone. Yes, live event production has a lot of surprises, but we'll get to that later. Here's a clip with Tim Russ, and he's going over some of the benefits of, if you have a little extra time, of being flexible when you're shooting your scene to give yourself a few more options in the editing room.
Yeah, so if you have the time, and you're fortunate enough to have enough time to run a scene a number of times to get allow the actor to have a chance to really work the material and work the moments, especially if there's one or two players that are doing the scene. That is the main thing. And interpreting the scene, yes, you can go head to head with people on from time to time, trying to, because you do have a vision of it doing this one thing this way, and they have another vision of it. And the main overriding concern is, from my standpoint, is it consistent with what we've already seen? Is it consistent with what we've established for this character? If it's not, that's the point of contention that I may have to raise at in that moment. It's just, does it match? Does it make sense?
Right.
What's happening here?
Right.
Now, it may be a level that's high, real high, or may be something that's very, very subtle. And what you can do in that situation is shoot it both ways. Right. You already got it set up. You already paid for it. So you might as well just have them do it a couple of ways. Try it big, try it small. Now, when you get in the editing room, you never know. You may be surprised and say, well, that does work better than what I had in mind. And then you have it. But you got it both ways. It's in the can. You're fine.
Tim Russ, episode 213, and this is a great example of, I wanted to find one clip from it, and I could not decide. The whole episode is awesome, particularly if you're a fan of the guy. And to make it even more cherry, I had the chance to DP director of photography, a short that he was in with Robert Picardo, who is the bald holographic doctor from Voyager. And it was amazing to just see both of those guys riff off each other and go, oh, you want to go there? Well, I'll walk there because the camera's over there. And then and they will look to me and the director and say, hey, could we do that? And then cross the frame that way. And then maybe you guys can slide over this way. And then that'll walk right into Tim Russ's single and he'll carry on the next thing there. So we're running around trying to get focus marks and adapt to that. And it was great working with him. And it was great rapping with him about cameras. He's really passionate about that. So definitely check out that episode. One of my favorites, 213.
Very passionate, cerebral guy. And he was also a guest on another show on the stream.
The Damage Report.
The Damage Report.
And if you're a fan of Star Trek and Tim Russ, you want to go check out, I think search for Warp Drive Theory or just Warp Drive on the homepage of the stream. Because someone had the balls to ask him, like, do you think Warp Drive is possible? And he answered it like straight up. So go check that out, The Damage Report.
One fun memory I have of that interview is we were in our smaller space at that time, and his daughter was there.
Yes.
And through the window of the studio, you can see what's called the green room, where people might be sitting and waiting. So you can see that. So his young daughter was there, and she was like dancing and making faces at me behind camera, the whole time. And the whole time I didn't comment on it until the very end of the interview, when me and Tim had a nice laugh about it.
He brings her to everything. I mean, she was at the short. She's been here. He didn't bring her to the 1,000th episode celebration, but he showed up to that too. So I was really happy to have him on. Very cool cat. Very cool cat.
Ms. Bierce, do we have an IM or two in waiting, perhaps?
Yes, we do. We have one from Sergeant Silent, who says,
Hey, Sergeant Silent.
Jeff, do you prefer talking shop about the actors aspect of the business, or more with like the writers, directors aspect, like the grips and all that kind of stuff? So do you prefer acting interviews, or more so like the crew interviews?
To be honest, I honestly enjoy them all. I know more about acting and writing perhaps than any of the other areas of it, but when I book a guest in a department that I haven't worked or I don't have the experience in, and I become a sponge or a researcher of that particular position that week, then I love to come in and actually learn from that person. I'm learning, as much along with you guys, when I have these guests come on and talk about their area of expertise. And one thing I said to Brian, one thing that I like and respect so much about him is, since I'm a little kid, I always enjoyed meeting people who are good at what they do and who love what they do. And then I can be really curious about it. So with that said, that's really why I kind of feel that way. And again, kudos to you, because you're so bright at what you do and you love what you're doing, and you'll take the time to explain it to anyone who's willing to listen.
Oh yeah, and sometimes I explain it to you regardless whether you care to know or had asked me to explain it to you. That happens quite a bit. And to maybe delve a little deeper into the categories of things, I suppose Jeff is far more knowledgeable about the writing process and the business aspect of things, and even from a producer standpoint, that kind of level, and where I am a lot more knowledgeable about gear and things like grips and cameras. So we kind of bounce off each other in that way. Filmnut was supposed to just be about the gear and the behind the scenes and the below the line, and inevitably it's just not easy to maintain enough traffic with just going with all unknown people. So my vision has kind of blended in with Jeff's vision so it's a combination of that, but it always still is based in the production and the business. We really don't harp on the storyline or the actor's motivation. I think there's plenty of shows that do that, so we try to steer away from that and really talk about the person themselves and not much about like the movie that they're in. It's really about the people that have shown up.
And it's a long enough show where we can get into a lot of different things, and one of the challenges that I take upon myself as the host is to find creative ways to ask questions that aren't just the same run-of-the-mill cookie-cutter type of questions that you see in other interviews, and hopefully I hit that sometimes. But maybe, okay, to give you a little bit more of a specificity on your answer, when I'm having a guest, regardless of what their crew position is, actor above or below the line, if they're involved in projects that I happen to be a personal fan of, that's always a little bit more exciting to me than when they're involved in projects that I might respect but maybe not quite as familiar with. So I think I have a third clip I want to get to now. It is with director Michael Lembeck, who also owns a comedy improv school. His father, Harvey Lembeck, started the school. Him and his sister took it over. He has directed over 300 sitcoms. He is an Emmy Award-winning director.
Friends, right?
Friends is what he won the Emmy for. The one after the Super Bowl
Did he do
was
Seinfeld
the
at all,
episode.
too?
I don't think he did Seinfeld, but he did do a lot of NBC shows. And then the Santa Claus 2 and 3 we talked about in this particular interview. And he is so funny and so energetic and so informative. If you're an aspiring director out there, or if you have an interest in that particular area of the craft, you do not want to miss this episode. Let's take a look. Was as a director, and I think this will be interesting to our audience, when you're up for a job, you have to pitch your version of the movie.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And you
need to own it. You need to be proprietary about it. You need to be passionate and enthusiastic about it. The art of the pitch is a skill set. It is a learned, acquired, necessary skill set. You are auditioning. You never are not auditioning as a director. And when you go in, my second movie, Connie and Carla, 44 other directors went in there. What's going to separate me from them? A lot of really skilled men and women went in to meet them. Your particular version, your vision, your passion is everything. And how you behave in the room, how you answer the hard questions, it will define your future with that movie. If you are in any way intimidated by or ineffective or inambitious or shy, you're not going to get the gig.
And what I was
you got to bring it.
Yeah, what I was gleaning from what you were saying before is that involves a complete breakdown of the scenery,
storytelling,
the story,
thematic material, historical material, how you hear the music, how you see it shot, how you see the tonally, its color, its look. I mean, this is what I do. I cover everything. Trailer moments. There was a time when the first time I was ever asked, well, do you think there are trailer moments? What do you think the trailer would be? I had no idea what they were talking about. And then I realized, my God, this is part of the pitch. Trailer moments are very important to the marketing people who are basically, unfortunately, all that matter right now, as opposed to the storytelling people.
You adapted to your talent. You adapted to the situation.
You better. It's Bell.
Right.
He's an animal.
Right. That seems like it's your philosophy.
Should see him eat.
Right.
I never saw anybody eat like that in my life. Usually performance anxiety dictates that you can't eat. You're churning. Your body won't allow you to put food in because you're nervous before you perform, no matter how long you've been doing it. Mel Brooks at the craft service table he's a freaking animal. I never saw anybody eat like that before a show in my life. My God, this guy could knock it back.
That's funny. I want to knock out a few more questions.
Well, now if he ever comes on, I have a clip to play.
We have a clip to play for him. Yeah. Hey, Brian Gramo in an episode of Filmnut. He does show himself from time to time.
I'm in Filmnut every once in a while. That's my old control desk. It wasn't a control room because we were in, for those of you that are good at spatial imagination, it was an 11-foot by 15-foot room, and the stage was 11 feet wide, so we had 15 feet of depth, and I was in the corner of that room with everyone, so I could physically reach the wide cam and the guest cam, and then every once in a while I had to run over and tweak the host cam, but the host I could train to be okay. And now, of course, I'm very lucky I have an assistant at one point or another, either Chloe or Jared out here, and in the past, Hogan and Ethan.
One last word I want to say about that episode. Michael tells a great story about his experience with Michael Jordan and on the set of, I want to say it was Space Jam, because there were a lot of basketball players on that movie, and he had an opportunity to meet and pick Michael Jordan's brain, and he relayed that story to being a director and a filmmaker. Very inspirational. Very tough not to pick that clip for this episode, but I went with what I did for
it was hard. And I think the episodes that we're picking here, don't take just the clip as the clip is the awesome thing. The whole episode is good. I wouldn't pick something that wasn't a great episode.
And
altogether.
That was 206, by the way, if you want to check that out in the archive.
Second season. Chloe?
Yes, I have a question from the bottom boy, or just bottom, I guess. Do you guys have a level of celebrity you can get? Do you even attempt to go after major celebrities or feel that they might be unattainable?
Right now, we have our best luck with getting a certain level of actor or entertainer in here. There are certain publicists, agents, and managers that are comfortable having their talent on the internet doing shows like these. There are others who are still a little bit hesitant, about placing their clients on the internet. So maybe some of the top A-list people, if you want to call them that, those are the ones we're having a little bit more of a challenge in getting in here for that particular reason, because their representation is a little bit hesitant. But one thing I want to say about that, not so much anymore, because we have done 100 episodes now, and people are watching and they're coming and knowing what to expect. But I love that at the beginning of the run of this show, when people would come in, they would do it because of a favor of a friend, someone knew or whatever, not knowing what to expect. What's this little internet thing? We were in this space much smaller than where we're at now.
Very small.
And they would leave on such a high and have
yeah,
such a
it
great
really
experience.
felt good when we finished the show. Like it was again this energy and this excitement that I only hope translates to you at home, because it's so intense here and you do feel it, and I can only imagine that you can get that, hey, this is a kind of a fun thing that's happening, and particularly when we first started filming, it was a brave new world of production because no one was doing it. At this point now, nearing 2010, you have more people doing this, so it's not so special anymore, and we're just attempting at this point to stay ahead of the curve as far as being professional at what we do and being consistent in the product that we deliver.
And what is your third clip?
Oh, my third clip. All right, we touched briefly on unexpected things happening in production. More so than, I suppose, filmmaking, I love live production. It all goes hand in hand. And, I just threw Jared for a little loop beforehand. And that always happens in live production. I'm a huge fan of live, and that's why I get so energized running all the shows here at thestream.tv. If you've ever seen a huge event like when there was a disaster for Katrina, there's a Katrina benefit, when there was the tsunami, they have to be run by someone. American Idol, So You Think You Can Dance, the biggest things in Hollywood, it's Debbie Williams. And I wrote to her and I just was like, hey, listen, I was a talent escort, which is essentially a glorified PA that they make they have you follow the celebrities around because they're not going to put headsets on the celebrities. I was a talent escort for her during one of these benefits. I believe it was the Jerry Lewis telethon, and she was the floor manager for that. I wrote to her directly. I got her contact information. I said, I have so much respect for you, and you run the largest, biggest productions in Hollywood. I need to have you on Filmnut, and you have to talk to people. And I got her in. The entire episode was cool. And this is a clip of her talking about a particular time where things messed up. And listen for some clapping in the clip, because I got so excited I couldn't help but clap myself.
My adrenaline used to pump a lot. It doesn't pump so much anymore because I don't get that excited. If something goes wrong, that's cool. Then you get excited and your adrenaline pumps. But on that show...
Wait, did you just say if something goes wrong, that's cool?
It is cool. Because anybody can do a perfect show. Right. Perfect shows are easy. You kind of wait for... we had an incident that happened on Idol this year. David Cook had a guitar amp. And... it was a 4-minute commercial. I had to go to the bathroom. So I decided to run to the bathroom while they were setting the amp up on the main stage. So I run to the bathroom, I come running back, and they go, we're having trouble with this amp. And I go, what's the problem? And it's not working. So they're trying to change it out, they're trying to change the cables, they're trying to do all this, and I'm going, tell me if we're gonna be okay. Now Greg's saying in my ear, okay, 40 seconds, and I'm saying to the tech guy, I'm going, Dave, tell me, are we gonna be okay? Finally, we're like down to the last 15 seconds. Greg's going, are we okay? And finally the guy goes, we're not okay. And so I start counting, because everybody in the house hears me, and I'm counting 10, 9, and I go, we're not. So I say to my other stage manager, we're not doing David Cook now. Tell Ryan to interview Michael John. Meanwhile, I look down we're up in that red room, I look down the main stage, that amp is still there, and we're in a video package that's like 30 seconds. I'm screaming for a prop guy, no one's coming, so I ran down on the stage, and Ricky Minor, who was standing there, said I literally picked the amp up, and I was saying to parents that were sitting there, help me to get this thing off of here! So I pick up the amp, and meanwhile, Greg's in the booth, and so we just kind of changed everything. Changed the phone number, copy changed. Ricky Minor knew that we were going into Michael. Everybody just went into their mode.
It's like a fire drill.
It was like a fire drill. And after we finished it, I walked over to Nigel and I just went, oh my God, Nigel gave me a hug, and Greg said he turned around to the producers in the back of the booth, and they're sitting there going, what is going on? What is going on? And it all changed, and it was all wonderful. That's what we're paid to do,
I mean, to me, people that love production, and they're waiting for that new war story. If you're ever on a filmmaking set, when there is downtime, the first things that start to get said are, oh man, one time I was on set and blank, and that's really what inspired me to make Filmnut, because I was on all these sets going, all these crew people have these great stories that, I mean, I found interesting at least. And I figured, hey, we got to get some of these people in here to talk about it, and we've now done 100 episodes. I'm shocked.
Yeah, and you know, we will. The mandate is to cover every crew position. We've gotten a lot of them. But before I go on, Jared, do you agree with what Debbie said about things going wrong being good? What's your thoughts on that?
Is it exciting?
Is it exciting?
Background originally, so I don't like shit to go wrong. It's like I have something scripted out, I like to do it.
Okay.
But I like you guys trying to throw me curveballs, you know? Like that just encouraged me, Brian. Me watching that clip you picked out encouraged me.
Well, good. And it's funny because, well, one funny story I like from that episode is Ryan Seacrest appeared in the movie Knocked Up. So we talked about that.
That was great.
We talked about that scene and Simon's response to it, so that was fun. I actually put that in my personal hosting reel. But also, my mandate is, as best I can, to tie things back to film production. So we did compare her position to, I think, that of a production coordinator. But if you can do it at that level live,
I think beforehand a production coordinator, surely, and maybe at the time a first AD, the stage manager is kind of like the first AD telling everyone what to do.
That's right. You brought up that point, I believe.
Yeah, a little bit of a first AD.
Exactly.
Yeah, TV production is different. Live TV production is different from scripted TV production. Is different from regular filmmaking.
But just the skills of being adaptable on your feet, having second and third options for situations.
You know, not only is that a great lesson for any production you happen to be in, it's a great lesson for any job. You know, like, you know, be ready, and you know the same thing happens to you every day. And I think one of the cooler production-based shows we have here is the Real Cool Club. I think with that show, if you haven't seen it, check it out. We've proven that we can do the normal show, and more we're trying every other episode. We're like, all right, that was the normal show, and the next episode, here's this crazy different way of producing the show that you haven't seen before, and it's challenging. And who doesn't want to be challenged as they go through things?
Now, before we get to our next little, I think we're going to show the original promo for film.
Oh, yes.
But before we get to that, as a first assistant director, what did you think of the 2 episodes we had featuring first ADs? We had William Paul Clark on the show.
Yes.
Who
it was hard not to pick a clip from that.
Who is Quentin Tarantino's first AD on Kill Bill and maybe
Kill Bill 1 and 2, Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, and I think he also worked on Jackie Brown. He was a second on one of them or something. And then we also had, as in the highlight reel at the top of the show, Gary. The first AD, Entourage.
The Entourage AD, all right.
AD. This is so bad. Live television. I'm spacing on his name.
Goldman.
Huh?
Gary Oldman.
Gary, there you go. Goldman, right.
Goldman.
Yes.
Oh, Oldman is the guy that's...
Kurt Oldman is the composer that we had on.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the 2 first AD episodes?
I really liked them. I was very happy to have a first AD on, and I think, you know, it maybe mostly for my father thinking that, you know, since I was an assistant director, he thought I got the director coffee, and I was like, no, that's the director's assistant. And for those of you that do not know at home, the first AD, or the AD if there's not multiple levels of them involved, that's the person that takes the script and determines what is the schedule that we will shoot this in. Obviously, if you see a kitchen 3 times in the movie, you're not going to shoot that at different times. You're going to shoot all the kitchen scenes at one time in one day, ideally. And then once that is planned, the first AD is also the person that executes that schedule, keeps you on track, and it keeps track of what items that you've covered during the day to see if you're missing anything. And inevitably, things go right or wrong, and so you have to reconvene to get the other stuff that you haven't had. So I thought it was extremely valuable for a filmmaker to realize that it's really helpful to have a first AD, and they had invaluable advice, pretty much everything they said. And if anyone hasn't done it, I encourage trying to do that if you're into production, because you truly have to know a little bit, if not a lot, about every position and get everyone on the same page in this harmonious balance of this person's getting ready while this is happening, and this person's moving to set, and no one's getting in the way, and particularly on a small shoot where there's people's cars everywhere, I'm about to shoot this way and there's not a bunch of garbage or cars in there. So as a first assistant director, very excited to have those guys on.
And I think with the Gary Goldman interview, he actually came in with his production book or whatever and talked about what it took to become a first AD, right? The sheets, how many hours he had to work.
Yes, to become a union AD, you have to log in quite a large amount of documentation, and that usually turns into several huge
600 days.
Yeah, well, it's 600 for various things. It's only 400 paid first AD days, and 100 of them can be prep days, which is cool. And you end up with these huge D-ring binders of all the documentation. For each shoot, you need call sheets and your starting contract, your pay slips, the production reports. It's a sufficient amount of documentation for each production.
And that was a good segment of that interview. Now, going back to Blue's question, I mean, that's a great example. 2 first ADs, but involved in projects that I love. So it was great for me to have. I was very excited to interview
Exciting
them.
projects if you're into the projects, and I got different things out of each interview. So even though it's the same position, everyone has different things to say.
And I definitely, as we repeat crew positions, that's one of the things I try to do is how can it not just be the same interview over again, just asking the same questions to someone different, but to attack it a little bit differently. Also, for Gary Goldman, I got to go to the set of Entourage, which I love that show. So I got to watch him work, and that definitely helped me formulate some specific questions for him. And again, with William Paul Clark, huge Tarantino fan, so how fun was that for me?
Oh, and not to go off too many tangents, Ross Schumann, who works on Robot Chicken, does the stop motion design for Robot Chicken, and that's a totally different production element in itself. He was on Film Nut. He was at the 1,000th episode party. This is the celebration of Film Nut's 100th episode. The stream's done over 1,000 episodes, and he's invited us to come to the studio when they start producing Robot Chicken again. So very excited about that.
Very excited about that. Well, let's go back to the beginning, to where it all started. One of the very first things I did after auditioning and meeting Brian for a different show, not even for Film Nut, is we shot a little 30-second promo to help promote the little show. That's now 100 episodes old, and it was very popular. It was a big hit on the internet and on the Stream.tv website, so let's take a look at the first promo. Quiet on set? All right, back to one. Tungsten? Gary Coleman? How many times is that train gonna go by? I'm going 10-1. Avenger! Do you love filmmaking? I'm Jeff Schubert, and you're watching the Stream.tv. We're gonna be here every Wednesday night live to talk about filmmaking. Filmnut, it's a show about filmmaking. We're gonna connect you directly to the filmmakers. And you know what? It's all live and completely interactive. Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. Catch Filmnut live on the Stream.tv. What does a guy gotta do to get coffee around here?
Now it's a little played out at this point, so we don't air it that much, and plus it's still in 4:3, and it was green screen and composited, so I don't roll it too much. Maybe I'll try to reconfigure it, or we got to get a new one going. But what I think is really fun about that, the two things that I think are really fun about that is, one, we initially were going to call Filmnut C47 because C47 is the clothespin that holds things. It's a very convenient, very common thing on sets. And then as a backup, I had him say a few lines about Filmnut because I still hadn't done enough research. In researching the show, I found out that a lot of things were called C47, but nothing was called Filmnut. I was actually shocked about that. I looked all over. I could not. People online had been referred to as Filmnuts, but there was no entity called Filmnut. So that was cool. And another fun thing I think about that promo is that, yes, Jeff had come in to interview for the hosting position of Love Stream, and I was like, man, this guy just looks the part of this filmmaking show I want to do, which I was initially going to host, but who would run the show then? So I explained, and I'm going to show you just the bare green screen shoot here. It's the first take. It's the first time I've ever shot anything with Jeff. We hadn't even gotten to Studio 2.0, and we were in 3.0. We had never shot any episodes of Filmnut, and I had just met Jeff. So I merely explained to him what I thought it would be, and I think it's really funny to have it almost 3 years later and to see how we actually, we really kind of nailed what we were doing. And plus Jeff has some improv skills, so just check out what he did. I just let him go for about a minute.
This is Jeff Schubert coming at you live in a promo from the Stream.tv, introducing a new filmmaking show that's going to air every Wednesday at 8 p.m. here again at the Stream.tv. We're going to talk about filmmaking. We're going to introduce you to filmmakers who've made some great films. They just need a little attention, a little love from people like you. We're going to take questions from you. You're going to instant message in. I'm going to look at the board. If the question looks interesting to me, most of them will. I'll answer them for you, or I'll repeat them to the filmmaker, and we'll get a good dialogue going back and forth so you can have all your questions answered about the particular film and filmmaking in general. Because let's face it, we all don't have the money to go to film school, right? We all don't have the money, or maybe we're a little lazy to read the books we should be reading. But here at the Stream.tv, we're going to bring it to you live in a dialogue format. We're going to answer your questions. We're going to meet great filmmakers. We're going to watch great films. We're going to stream films live to you so you can see them on our network weekdays, weekends, middle of the night if you can't sleep, girlfriend won't do it with you. Whatever your need is, we're going to have alternative programming here for you to watch and be entertained by.
Girlfriend won't do it with you?
Yeah.
The Stream.tv. Well done, Jeff.
Yeah, I forgot about that, actually.
Your accent, and I already saw in the chat room that your accent was a bit more pronounced back then.
Yeah, certain situations have a tendency to bring that out in me.
That was the first take, and that's why I think that's so cool. I was like, yeah, we did most of that. We tried to get into maybe streaming some shorts for you guys, and it's mostly been like we just haven't had enough time to coordinate it. I would love to do that eventually now that I saw that, but I thought that was very fun. I just kind of let them go for about 60 seconds, and that's what happened.
That was fun. Now, my recollection of early meetings and the title C47 versus Filmnut and the making of the promo is one. I mean, Brian is like a savant when it comes to knowledge, great mind for all things. When it comes to things like C47, I didn't know what that was when I met him. I didn't know what a lot of these set term speaks were, if you will. We like to end a lot of our interviews with that question, by the way. We ask the guests, what is your favorite set term speak?
And wait, a quick piece of trivia. I try to word it in the prompter because it's set speak term.
Oh.
It's called set speak, and what set speak term do you want? And I try to like type it in the prompter because there's a prompter here that you guys can't see. And sometimes I try to go set ... speak ... and then another line say term. I've tried to word it every time it comes out set term speak, and I'm like, all right, people get it. People get it.
Dyslexia. You can type it out as big as you want, right? So
maybe the next 100 episodes.
Now it's locked in. Believe me. Say to me, tell me what I'm doing wrong on air like that. That'll fix it now for the future. But so when you were telling me C47, and then you say something like, well, there's also a chance of thinking about Filmnut. I'm like, yes, please.
I wanted to back up either way, and I think another thing that Debbie Williams always says, always have a what if when you're doing production, whether it's live or you're preparing something, have a what if. And where Tim Russ was saying, try it multiple ways, and that saved our butt.
And then with the words, now when it came to the actual 30-second promo that you saw before the green screen, so I was doing some improvising on the green screen that day, but then after a while, Brian would just feed me specific lines, not tell me how to say them, just say this, say that. Say this. And I would just repeat them back however they hit me. So, like, I didn't know Gary Coleman was a set term speak.
Yeah, so, Gary Coleman is a particularly short C-stand.
You know, so I didn't know that.
Gary Coleman.
So he's throwing out all these things to me, and then all of a sudden, out of the middle of nowhere, he says Gary Coleman. I'm like, Gary Coleman?
Yeah, that's actually your reaction going, Gary Coleman. Yeah, it's kind of my directing style. It's the way I'm a boss, and it's the way I don't really fully explain things a lot of the time because I'm trying to get somewhat more of a see what the person does.
Mm-hmm.
And
it worked out.
Yeah, maybe it's not ideal for a lot of people, but the people it comes out. I think it works really well. And when I'm just trying to get something natural out of someone where I don't really explain it all the way, but I say just enough to maybe get the performance or the action out of you that I want.
Well, that was fun, and it worked. Chloe Bierce, what do you got for me?
I have a few really good questions, actually. From Loyal Casanova, have you guys ever had any controversial interviews? Any crazy interviews?
Yeah.
There were a couple of controversial beats.
Well,
or
I suppose the writer strike stuff, yeah, that could have been contended.
Sure, we talked about net neutrality, actors.
SAG actors. There were some people in there trying to challenge us, and this isn't Crossfire, you know. We're not attacking people on film. It's a stage for people to kind of get their message out.
I will tell you one moment that I kind of froze that was potentially controversial. I just skipped over it. We had Oscar-winning writer Bob Moresco on for co-writing the film Crash.
He was amazing. Watch that. Really do. Watch that, guys. Watch that.
So we were talking about a lot about his movie 10th and Wolf that he was directing, and when he was about to explain what it was about, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he says, "It's about Michael Vick." And this was right about the time that Michael Vick was with the controversy with the dog fighting and all that sort of stuff, and he was saying some pretty interesting things about that, and all I did was, it just caught me off guard. I just looked to the audience and said, for those of you who are unaware, and I explained what the Michael Vick situation is, and I just crossed right over it, rather than, debating his opinions on.
But as far as controversial, like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I mean, this is not that. This is not that type of show.
Right,
yeah,
absolutely.
It's pretty much what you're going to get. Hopefully you're going to get exposed to a very interesting person, and then learn a little bit about whatever process we're focusing on that day. I actually remember having the SAG guy in here. I apologize, I don't remember.
Ned Vaughn?
The second guy.
Seymour Cassell?
No, the younger guy. Oh, no, you know what? The Film LA Permit guy. That's who it was.
Oh, the Film LA Permit guy, yes.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Sorry. So it's everything.
Todd Lindgren?
Yes, thank you. And I think he was saying particular things about the way they were working permits and handling things in Los Angeles. And someone in the chat room was kind of aggravated. They're like, well, what about this and what about this? And, you know, we asked one question, but he was like really gung-ho about like challenging this guy's position. And I'm like, we're not here to attack our guests. If you want to come on and rebuttal, great. And we'll give you the same courtesy. We're going to let you sit here and get your information out, tell people about yourself, and we will let the chat room ask questions as well. So not a lot of controversy here.
Idea is to be educational, entertaining, dig deeper than what you see perhaps in other formats, and get some different angles on things, but not to be controversial.
And no crappy commercials interrupting.
No crappy commercials. Ms. Bierce, I believe you said there were a few really good questions on there.
Yes, there is. This is from Liam. How do you deal with a guest who cancels?
Happens.
It happens, yes.
Happens. Well, first, how do you deal with it?
I email you pretty fast with the urgent thing on it, so you see it faster. You know, I have some potential backups in mind, people that, you know, we might not look to book far in advance, but on short notice would still be interesting, good guests for the viewers. In some instances, we've had a show. In one or two instances, I think we've had to cancel. I think Vic Sahai, who is a great guest, he's an actor on Chuck, he does independent films. I think that interview was a result of someone canceling.
That was a great show.
That was a great show. The publicists represented the same people, so one client of the publicist had to cancel, and the publicist was able to replace.
And as far as someone canceling, and perhaps we don't have a suitable guest to replace them during the booking, we'll opt to just not produce a show. We don't want to do a filler show. We don't want to give you something and be like, here is our Filmnut product that we're very happy with, and here's something that was a backup, you know. If it's not good, we're just going to skip it, because in the end, we're not really answering to anyone, and we just want to have a really nice collection. So if we can get a good guest, yes. So I try not to worry about it too much, and there's always so many things to do here. It's not the end of the world when one episode has to get skipped. We try to be consistent, though.
And if you compare this show to other shows that might be in the same category, we crank out a lot of episodes in a given year.
Yeah, we do.
There aren't that many 1 hour Actor Studio doesn't crank out over 30 episodes a year.
Yeah.
You know, so we are cranking out a lot.
Yeah, people get on us for going on breaks, and like we're not even on vacation. We're just catching up on work in between when we're dark. So yeah, so it's not a big deal when someone cancels. We prefer people not to, and also what we found is the people that are really small, like that no one's heard of, they're never going to cancel on you because they're going, oh my God, I got this opportunity. I'm going to get all of this exposure. The people that are huge, like the really big hitters, A-B listers that everyone's heard of, they never cancel either, because those are the people, they're where they are today because they're consistent and they deliver and they're professional. It's the middle of the road people we found, and not so much for Filmnut, but for other shows on the stream, I suppose. It's those middle of the road people that are trying to like hedge their bets on this, that, and just not committing to one thing. Those are the people that either cancel or reschedule. So the bigger guests, we almost never have to worry about it.
But I tell you, even if they cancel, once I've done that research, I want them on. I've done the research, I've done my homework,
well,
I've got
something
my
that
questions.
I don't think a lot of people know is, you know, Jeff pretty much tries to become the biggest fan possible of someone, and he will get their movie, he will get their book, and he will research them online and get to the fan message boards. And I see a lot of the times he's bringing up stuff that the host didn't even know, or the guest didn't even know, or didn't remember. And you really do need to know what you're talking about going into something like that, because, you know, it's easy for a host to kind of look dumb or not ask the right things. And the biggest issue I have with any interview, whether it's on TV or on a magazine, and I believe with the way we run the stream.tv, we never have this problem. I hate when they don't ask that one question that everyone wanted to know, and the big fans, oh my God, how did you not ask him about blank? And it's almost impossible for that to happen here, because one, Jeff is going to do so much research, and two, you guys are in the chat room, and their diehard fans are the ones that are going to find out about this live broadcast. And that's the part that makes me the most happy about what we do. You'll hopefully never leave the show with that feeling. Anyone having that feeling now?
Chloe?
Well, to go along with what you were saying, Sergeant Silent has a really good question. Have you guys ever been told to steer clear of certain questions or subjects?
Yes. Oh my God, that's the most annoying part of this. But I would love to say that it's completely unregulated, and we can ask anything to the person that we want. But unfortunately, there's this thing called publicists and managers, and very commonly they will be either right next to me or they'll be in the control room, and there's a prompter over here for Jeff, and it's behind the guest's shoulder. So sometimes you'll see the guest do this so they can see it. But we try to have it so the guest cannot see it, but the manager can see it. So sometimes a question will go up, and they'll tap me on the shoulder and they'll say, no, we don't want to ask that. It's usually like if a guest, and this is the most common thing, and I'll just come right out and say it, if they're a homosexual, for some reason, and I don't know why it's like this, but for some reason, if someone asks questions about their gay fans or them doing something, that's something that like no one wants to come out. And like I really thought we were like over that. Like I thought like a couple years ago, for some reason, like it didn't matter anymore. And maybe I'm kidding myself because I live in Los Angeles and I grew up in New York, but that's still a big thing. And there's been a percentage of them of people on with that are interested in the same sex, and we're not allowed to talk about that for some reason. Publicists are huge on tapping me about those questions, and I don't know why. It's stupid, I think.
Well, one specific incident that I recall, and we actually showed a part of it in the highlight reel to start the show, was when James Gunn was saying, thank you, Jeff, I trusted you, and you came through. What he was referencing was that on the first interview, first time we had him on, he had just gotten his divorce. This was the first interview he was doing since then.
Yeah, he got divorced from Jenna Fisher.
From The Office, and he didn't want to talk about that. And look, at this point, I look at it as, obviously, people are coming on for their reasons to promote whatever the case may be, but I still look at it as they're being kind to us by coming in, so I do want to respect them.
And you know, we're not the controversial show. We're not here to nail you, but and we're still the little guy, and we have to cater to what they want a little bit. You know, we don't exist in a vacuum, and people have needs like that.
And I have no problem with that. And James, and it was really cool because in that second interview, he was here about 45 minutes before we came on live to do our usual pre-show prep. Doesn't say a word to me about it. He specifically, in my opinion, he wanted to wait to thank me on air, which I thought was really cool of him, to bring that up the last time I came on. That meant a lot, and I trusted you, blah, blah, blah. And I thought that was really cool.
It was very cool. Yeah, we're not here to screw anyone over. We just want to have a good time, and you know, it helps us get better friends with the publicists. And now these publicists are, you know, coming to us saying, I want to put this person on, and that makes our life a lot easier, and it helps us get cooler people in front of you guys at home.
Anything else, Chloe?
Yes, a good question to end on.
Okay.
What's the hardest thing about putting on a show like Filmnut?
Do you want to take that first?
Blue Rivers.
I'll take it first, sure. I suppose for Filmnut, this is one of our easier shows to produce. Getting the set tweaked, you know, is a little particular with the lighting that we do now. But I think the hardest part is you're going to get an answer from Jeff. It's booking the guest. It's getting the guest to come on. Once we have them coming on, it's essentially a very intimate interview. Half of it is coming from Jeff, half of it is coming from people at home, or maybe advanced questions from the message board. And production-wise, I've made it very simple. We have an extra angle on the guest now when we have a guest. There's just two lavaliers, and as far as getting it up on the website, you know, we have that process pretty automated. So to me, it's an extremely simple show to produce. It is getting the talent in here, and I'll let Jeff handle that part.
Well, a challenging aspect of that is if I book a guest for the show a day or two before and I don't have time to do the level of research that I like, then I have to find little creative ways to make you think that I did the same level of research that I do when I have like a week's notice for a guest. So that can be a little bit challenging. Certainly booking would be the number one. It's a cyclical thing. It feels like there'll be a cycle where I'm getting tons of people come to me and I'm like booked for a cycle without a problem. And then all of a sudden out of nowhere, like 3 weeks in a row, it's like down to the wire whether or not there's going to be a Filmnut that week.
Yes.
You know, and more frequently than not, I mean, the show does go on, but there's been 1 or 2 bumps.
Yeah, but on a production standpoint, it's a very simple show to create. But it's the content and the goodness that's hard, and obviously getting it out to people and letting people know about it. That's the challenge.
Now, you did say you want me to interview you again, so I might not have to wait till the 200th episode retro to have you back in the chair.
No, well now Jared did such a good job, you know, so we'll have him do another one. So and I promise we're going to do this. We're going to use some split screen technology. I think it'd be so funny to have Jeff interview Jeff, and we're going to make that happen. I promise. It'll come soon.
Well, we should do it while I'm growing this little facial stuff.
That'd be so funny to have you as the guest and then you like clean shaven. That'd be an extra amount of coordination.
So before
Well, we should do that. That's a great idea.
Before we depart, any other words before I do my wrap?
No, thank you, Jeff. You know, it's nearing 3 years. It'll be a 3-year anniversary in January, and it's just a lot of fun. And every show is worth something. And I just can't thank you enough for like how awesome you are. Like, you know, I think, you know, we both took a gamble on each other, and it's a fun time. And you impress every single guest that comes in here, and that says something.
Well, thanks. And you know, I don't want to call it a gamble because I had a great feeling the very first time I met you, so it didn't feel like a gamble.
Cool.
You made a great first impression in terms of being someone who had a vision, who had a plan, who had his stuff together, and every step along the way, I've watched you execute what you say you wanted to execute. You know, so it's been a pleasure working with you. So.
Excellent, thank you.
Now, before I wrap this up, I alluded to before how much I really enjoyed authentically the guests when they come in here, that natural high that they have. You know, when they leave here, when the interview's over. So when we go out, we're going to go out to one last little trailer of the reaction to some of the guests when they leave here. But before we get to that, I want to thank Brian Gramo again. I want to thank Peter Paul Basler again. I want to thank Chloe Bierce. I want to thank all the viewers out there who ask great questions.
Great questions.
Every interview that are such a big part of what we do here on Filmnut, and every interview. I thought about like saying some names off the top of my head, but then I feel bad if I left any out, because there's too many to remember. But all you guys, you know who you are. We appreciate your viewership week in, week out, not only for the main show, but also for the post show, where I go and chat with you guys live afterwards. It's like a different crowd. It's like a different group of people that I talk to there in the post show than the live show, but I appreciate one and all. To all the great guests that have come on, all the publicists, all the managers, all the agents that have helped make this show what it is today, I want to thank you and look forward to working with you in the next 100 episodes. So I don't think I'm leaving anything out. If I am, I certainly apologize to whoever might be out there. That is going to do it for this 100 episodes of Filmnut. See you on number 200.
Your questions are probing and very good.
Exactly.
I
want to talk about spread. I want to talk about paparazzi. I could stay here for another couple hours.
Just keep us informed of what that is, and we'll let the viewers know.
You'll have to have me back.
We'll give them links.
Know.
Oh, okay. Very good. We'd love to have you back.
Hopefully you'll have me back sometime.
That's going to just about do it for us here. I thank you so much for coming in.
I've got another hour.
An hour has gone by.
That's right.
It went extremely fast.
Jeepers, Ivy. That's
No
going to be our time for
way!
tonight. It's been fantastic having you
Thank
on.
you so much for having me. This has been great fun.
Very inspirational.
Thank you.
Thank you.